Hi, I'm Michael from the Data Bytes. Today I'm going to demonstrate how to set up transactional replication in SQL Server. All right, let's get to it. As you can see over here on my screen, I've got two SQL Server instances. These both reside on my laptop. So one of them is desktop, whatever, slash SQL1. That one's a named instance. And then I've got a desktop, basically localhost. So anyways, these two instances both have transactional replication installed in the features. If you need to install that on your features and you don't know how, you go back to one of my videos, how to install SQL Server features after uh, server's already been installed. But assuming you already have that set up, you should be able to just go over to here to the one that you want to replicate from, the source. So I've got a Stack Overflow 2010. I'm going to use the users table. You'll see replication over here. I played around with it a few times just for testing to make sure I could get it to work. There wasn't going to be any issues, but so if I went over here, create a new publication, you would open up a window for a wizard. This wizard's going to show that I've got a couple of databases I can choose from, example DB and Stack Overflow 2010. I'm going to go for 10. You've got 4 different types of replication right here. You got snapshot publication, transactional publication, peer-to-peer publication, merge publication. For the purpose of this, I'm just going to go with transactional. They all have benefits. Most of the time I've seen transactional replication do the best for me. That's kind of a production server to a reporting server. That's been the best use case that I've seen. Maybe if you are looking at a couple, like a high availability, you might look at more of a merge publication. I haven't really used it for that, but that would look at more conflicts, snapshot publication. Maybe you want to take a snapshot once a day and then move that over there, similar to log shipping, in my opinion. I'm not super hit on that. If you're going to send data over, the network, you might as well do it in small batches all day rather than one huge batch a day. But that's just my personal opinion. So I'm going to go with transactional replication. You can do the views, or that you can choose the tables that you want to run or you want to replicate. And you've also got plenty of store procedures. If you have a bunch of store procedures or a bunch of functions or whatever you might have, you can also replicate a lot of objects over. Uh, but these objects, specifically the tables, need to have a primary key or they're not going to be allowed to replicate. So we'll go over to users. It's got an ID, primary key. All right, filter table rows. I'm not going to filter anything. So we want to create a snapshot immediately and keep that snapshot available to initialize subscriptions. So when you initialize a subscription, you basically take a snapshot of what the database or what the table, the article inside the publication looks like. So maybe you have 1 or 2 tables and you're going to take a snapshot of those tables at that point in time. And then your distribution database is going to catch all the different transactions from then on. And basically you're going to use that snapshot. It's going to apply it over to the other server, and then it's going to push over those distributions or the changes. Excuse me. So we'll create that. You can schedule a snapshot to run at the following times if you want to keep these. Maybe you need to do this at a certain point in time. I don't. I'm going to just go ahead with this, run it immediately. Snapshot agent. All right. We're going to do a not recommended security practice. You can run it under Windows accounts and all that for better security practice, and I've done that. But for the most part, this is just a little bit easier. Run it under a SQL Server agent service account, but easier is not usually a security best practice. So let's go ahead and use next. Create the publication. You could also generate the script file to set up the publication. But I don't need to do that. I could always run this again using this wizard if I really have an issue. Some people might have some kind of job or something that they can kick off if it did have an issue, but I don't think that we would need to script that out. All right, and then I'm just going to call this Stack Overflow MO. All right, and we're just going to go finish. And adding one article. That article is basically whatever object you're choosing. So it's the table in this instance. It could also be a view or a store procedure. Sorry, allergies. All right, so we've got the publication over here, but to get this over here, you're going to need to be able to create a subscription. So basically, if you had a bunch of instances and you have one primary server for all your production or whatever kind of your production loads, you can actually have multiple reporting servers and you can replicate to each different one of them. Maybe you have them around the world, one production one over in America, and then you're reporting back a bunch of different places for metrics. So you could just have them all in the same subscription or on the same publication and multiple subscriptions below. But let's go. So we can create a subscription over here. I'm going up to the server right here, which is the named instance, SQL1. We go to underneath replication, and I have a replication installed for both of them. Do subscriptions, next, and the thing that's going to pop up is going to show this one first, desktop, its own name. So we'll go to SQL Server Publisher. See, there's Oracle Publisher, but I haven't used that. I'd be interested to use that sometime. And we're going to use the default instance. This is the publication we just created. And you can have it either run a pull subscription or a push subscription. So if you have a distributor on your primary instance, then you can push it. It's going to basically put the distribution database in all the jobs on that whatever instance you choose to install the distributor on, and it's going to push all the data. It's going to store the data in the distributor database, and then it's going to use those jobs and push it to the subscriptions. But right now we are going to just use the push subscription. And I know a lot of people, for best practices, they like to have a third instance, and then they would use that as the distributor database. I haven't personally done that, but I have seen some documentation on that in the past. All right, another bad practice. We're going to run this underneath the SQL Server agent service account. All right, next. And this is going to initialize that. And here it is. This is the users table that has now been replicated. Let's see if there's any data in it. And there is. One way that you need to set up a distributor most of the time that I'd already done before this, since I was playing around with it before, but I didn't do it on this instance, would be go over to here to replication, and then you configure distribution. And you'd walk through this. You could set it up over here, go next, and then once you get all this, this would choose the file path, because the distributor needs to have a file path to be able to put the snapshots. I believe they're sparse files, and you'd push those over there. They would use that until they aged off. Go next, distribution data, next, figure, finish. All right. And then you go to distributor properties, and you'd have to add which publishers are allowed to be used for that. So you can add a publisher, and you could always add the other one over here. So if we were using the pull subscription, we would have needed to add this publisher beforehand. But that's all. Those are the basics on how to configure transactional replication. If you like this video, please like and subscribe,